Okay, so as the story continues, most people are happy most of the time if we measure their subjective well-being. Why is that? Why is it that people are so resilient? And how could we use some of the trends in what we know about what predicts human happiness to maybe improve our own subjective well-being? Well, we got some concepts that may be of use to you here. The first one that you'll find referenced in Module 83 in your text is something called the adaptation level phenomenon. This is the idea that perhaps our own estimates of our well-being come as we make comparisons between what we perceive as normal and what we're used to, and some new change that either might occur or has occurred for us. So, for example, okay, if you make a modest income and you win the lottery, that there's a rapid change in the amount of money that you have, and that might temporarily boost someone's subjective well-being because there's been a big change relative to normal for that person. But as time passes, and that person adjusts to and becomes used to having millions and millions of dollars, that money no longer remains a source of happiness. That becomes the person's new normal, that their income becomes what they are used to. And you would need greater increases on top of that in order to feel well off. Likewise, oh, this is also how like Midwesterners, like why if you're on social media right now, people's perception of what is terribly cold is very different depending on what is normal to you in your part of the country. I've got a friend who teaches out in California who was making fun of some of his students because his students last week were complaining about it being 55 degrees out, that was cold. And he was, sharing with them screenshots of the wind chill temps in Wisconsin to say like, now this is cold. To someone from Wisconsin, 55 degrees is not really that chilly. But that's compared to what we're used to. And what we consider to be cold differs a lot from season to season, right? Like maybe in mid-July, we'd actually consider 55 to be kind of a chilly day. But in January, when we've been used to having colder temperatures due to winter, 55 degrees would be considered super warm. So the whole idea of the adaptation level phenomenon is we make comparisons to our own normal, which has been established by our own experience. So everything we're comparing against what's normal based on our experience. Is it better than that or is it worse than that? Another concept that involves comparisons and the impact that those things have on our happiness is something called relative deprivation. Now, this comes from the idea that you feel like relatively deprived in comparison to others. So it's why you might be perfectly satisfied with the phone that you have until that you see a friend of yours who has a new, cooler, updated version of that same phone that maybe is more expensive. We make comparisons between ourselves and others. And this, of course, can be problematic, right? Like maybe we would be completely satisfied with stuff if we weren't constantly comparing ourselves to those who are well off. This is why people might feel rather unsatisfied with their own home after they've watched, Cribs or something on TV and they see all kinds of like cool fancy houses that seem way better than our own. But it also, like, if you use the flip side of relative deprivation, it can actually be something quite good. And a lot of people do use this principle just in a way that's going to boost their well-being, not in a way that hurts it. Anytime that you volunteer and give rather selflessly to other people who you can see are actually less well off than you. So if you volunteer at a soup kitchen or raise money for homeless individuals in your neighborhood, that can make you very cognizant of the fact that, I may not have everything, but I've got some good things going on in my life. I have a home. I have people that care about me. I'm not experiencing this tragedy that maybe someone else experienced. So the act of like giving charitably to others, especially those who are less fortunate than ourselves, not only benefits those people, but by flipping this principle of relative deprivation, it actually boosts our own well-being. So it's good news all around to help those who are less well off than ourselves. But so before we move on from those things, do note that these two things can be kind of confusing for students when they're applying them, because both of them involve comparison. But adaptation level phenomenon suggests we're making comparisons to what's normal based on our own experience, and relative deprivation involves comparisons, but between ourselves and what we have and what we're experiencing and what other people are experiencing. If we feel better off than other people, we feel good. If we feel somehow worse off than other people, then we might feel bad. And this last principle is linked to the happiness research. Some textbooks presented in other places as well, but it's worth noting because it does have an impact on our behavior. The feel-good, do-good phenomenon, I don't even have defined up here because it's one of those fabulous terms that just kind of a little bit sounds like what it is, or at least what it is written into the name. When we're feeling happy, so if something good has just happened to us, we're much more likely to engage in good behaviors toward others. So if you had just maybe received news that you'd gotten that scholarship you worked so hard for, you're more likely to help someone else next to you who might be in need of assistance. If you had just had someone compliment you on that wonderful shirt that you're wearing today, then you're more likely to hold the door open for some other stranger. So mood boosts tend to boost our willingness to behave kindly and charitably in an altruistic way toward other people. So if you feel good, you'll do good things. How cool is that? Now, when we come back together, which hopefully will be soon, I'll be actually having you do an application exercise where you might have to think about these terms in some sort of real life mini FRQ. But in the meantime, stay warm, and I'll hopefully see you in class soon.